are some things that you've discovered in your research around the outcomes and also some of those key ingredients to long-term recovery? So you're talking to some of these clients who are 12 months later, they're still doing well. What are you seeing that they're doing that might be different from some of the people that after a month they've relapsed?
Right. Well, there are 5 different factors that we have found have been very influential in how successful people are in remaining drug and alcohol free long term. The most important factor is totally under the control of the patient, and that is, do they complete the recommended treatment? Because what we find is that those that complete the recommended treatment will have about twice the success rate of those who, for whatever reason, leave treatment early and say, I got this, I know I can stay sober. The fact is, they probably can't. Your question about what are the most effective factors, the first is, do they successfully complete treatment? The second is, how effective is that treatment center? Because as I said, we saw a dramatic variation in effectiveness among the highly respected treatment programs that we have done the research with. The third factor is, how long does the patient stay in treatment? And what we found is that for patients who are in treatment for less than 20 days, only 22% of those patients were reachable and claimed to be abstinent 6 months later. So 22% if they stayed in treatment for less than 20 days, and 45%, more than double, if they were in treatment 90 or more days. So the longer they can stay in treatment, and that doesn't mean it has to be in residential treatment for all of that time. You can go through a progression of treatment. You can go to residential treatment and then follow up with a PHP or an IOP program, or you can do entirely IOP if you have a motivated patient. They can succeed fine with IOP treatment that's building a strong peer network and things like that. But the longer they can stay in treatment, the more likely that they're going to be doing well 6 months or a year down the road. The fourth factor we found is really impactful is what drug they're addicted to. We have higher success rates for patients who are in treatment for alcohol addiction than we do for any of the other drugs. And the drugs that we have the worst success rates for are heroin and cocaine. And the rest of the drugs are somewhere in between there. So I think that's just telling you it's harder to recover from a heroin addiction than it is from an alcohol addiction. That doesn't mean it can't be done. It's done every day, thank goodness. Right. But it's just harder. You should be aware of that. And then the last thing, and it ties into how long they're in treatment, the last thing that has a big impact we see on whether patients are successful long-term is the actions those patients take after they leave treatment to remain abstinent. And the 2 most important factors that we found are, if they can go to recovery support meetings regularly throughout at least their first month, that dramatically improves their success staying abstinent. The second is, and this may be even more important, if they can live in a sober living environment for at least a month post-treatment, this also has a really big impact on their long-term success rates. So those are the 2 most important factors, I think. And that doesn't mean they have to go to AA. There's a lot of different types of recovery support meetings that can be very effective. They have to find the one that works right for them. But if they can be in a network where they're developing friendships, they're developing fun activities in a sober environment, and if they can be living in an environment that is monitoring and forcing them to focus on the activities they need to do to stay abstinent while they still are getting their feet under them. They're back kind of sort of in the real world, and they have to get used to a new way of operating. And being in those sort of environments, we found, makes a dramatic difference.
That's fascinating. And it's so great to have it concrete that you're just laying it right out. So, and I totally agree with everything. I mean, that was our experience too. I felt like my daughter's treatment was longer, and she did do the sober living. And she said, if I had gone to, she had one program for 5 weeks, and she said, if I had just come home after that, I would have relapsed. I would have started using again because I wasn't ready. It wasn't enough. And so, and I do, unfortunately, I do see parents so often sending parents for, their kids for 30 days. Sometimes the kids, and sometimes they do fine, but then sometimes I'll see instances of kids coming home and living at home, and then they're just isolated because there's no, their friends are all using, so they can't be around them. They don't have new friends. I mean, it's just tragic, so it's really good to know. I totally agree that I think the sober living, and I think some people say, oh, there's too much risk. Our sober living experience with my daughter was great. I mean, you just have to do your homework and find one that's, very proactive and on top of things.